What is up, dead friends? Jordan Briegel here, back with another tutorial, and today's is going to be the last tutorial of the basics, and we're going to go over networking fundamentals. And today we're going to be looking at, okay, so we're going to, wasn't even typing. Okay, so this will include our OSI, or the OSI model. I'm going to show you guys what TCP and IP does. IP slash TCP. And as an added bonus, we're going to take a look and see how the Tor network works. Alright. So, I haven't done any programming videos yet, or tutorials on how to program. And the reason being is that I want to make sure you guys understand how a computer functions in its basic essence before we start manipulating it to do whatever we want. So in the next line of tutorials, I'm going to be going back to the reconnaissance phase, and we'll go over that, and then we're going to hit our cryptography and all that again, and get into a little more advanced stuff. And then by that time I feel that you guys will be ready. However, in the meantime, before those videos come out, or while those videos are coming out, make sure you guys take a look at HTML programming. I'm not going to teach it because it's kind of irrelevant towards what we're doing on here, but just so if you guys have no programming experience whatsoever, take a look at HTML, get familiar with it, and start practicing using it. And then we'll move on to the languages that I'm going to be teaching you guys, which will be primarily object oriented. So it'll be like Python, C, C++, and assembly. And assembly is going to be later down the road because I'm not too familiar with assembly. But alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our networking fundamentals though. So we're looking at the OSI model first, and what the OSI model contains is 7 different layers. Okay, so level 1 layer is what is known as low end, or basically the bottom end. And then you got your 7th layer, which is known as high end, or what I call top end layer. So what are these layers though? So layer 1, we have our physical layer. And basically what our physical layer is this would be like your internet cable, or anything that transmits an electrical wave to transfer data on a physical device, hence why it is called the physical layer. Okay, so basically everything from cables and bits to electrical impulses and wireless data traveling back and forth. This is the layer where data is converted to signals and vice versa. Alright, so and also we can include pinouts, voltages, and cable specifications. And this also includes a very important piece known as your NIC, or your network interface card. Alright, so that is your level 1, or your layer 1, sorry. And then your layer 2 is what is known as your data link layer. So let's list this first, and we'll go over it. Okay. Okay, so your data link layer is layer 2. Essentially, this layer is about access to a computer, access to a device. This is the layer that pretty much packages your bits and data into frames. And if you're not familiar with frames, then frames are segments of data that we are pushing over layer 2 connectivity. It's also transfer from point to point in MAC addresses. And MAC addresses are your media access control addresses. And these are hard-coded into your network interface cards, or your NICs. And they're always a unique number to our network interface cards, meaning they don't change. Okay, and when I talk about IP, you guys will, this will be the difference, is that your IP can change depending on where you're pointing it to, but your MAC address, it is permanent. It is your permanent address that the manufacturer placed on your network interface card. Alright, so that's your layer 2. Let's move on to your layer 3, which will be your network layer. Okay, and the network layer is exactly what it sounds like. So this is where all the internet protocols are held, like your IP, your TCP, UDP, things like that, are held in your network layer. Okay, so networking. But more specifically, this layer is referred to as the IP layer. This is where logical addresses are translated into physical, and network routing, reassembly, and fragmentation are performed. When we use logical addresses, such as like an IP address, it is still point to point, but we may change these points in the network to where the data goes. An IP address is not hard-coded into our network interface card. So what does this mean? It means that, like I said, IP addresses, they are changeable. You can point it towards a specific point on a network or a network service, like a server or a web server, and you can change the points. Okay, and it'll switch around a bit, so that way it can get you to what you're specifically looking for. When we transmit the data from one computer to another on a global scale, where the receiving computer is on a different subnet, a router must be used, for we cannot transfer the data by simply using its MAC address, because then it won't point to multiple points. It just points to one point. Alright. And of course the router must have an IP address as well. So let me, we'll explain IP further when we get to that part. We'll go ahead and go to our layer 4, which is our transport layer. So, layer 4, and, oh, actually, okay. Transport. Okay, so layer 4 is our transport layer, and our transport layer provides us with management and control, and also helps us to transfer data that we send and receive. It helps split communications into different packages using either transmission control protocol, TCP, or user data protocol, UDP. These protocols provide for either verification or no verification of delivery of these data packets or frames. So, and you know, I had mentioned that the layer 3 uses IP and TCP, and yes, that is true, but it's mainly IP addresses that layer 3 uses. Transport, I guess what I'm getting at here is layer 3 and layer 4 are extraordinarily similar to each other. They kind of overlap each other a bit in order to work perfectly. So that's why I said in layer 3 that IP and TCP, because you know, you have to have your transmission control protocol in order for your IP protocol or your internet protocol to work, which is what IP stands for. So, but yeah, okay, so then, you know, and do note that TCP and UDP are the base platforms of sending / receiving messages. Like it can use SSH, which is secure shell, or HTTP, which is hyper text transfer protocol. And you know, they're used to make sure we send our data the correct way. So like I said about us pointing our IP addresses towards a specific point, and that point may change from point A to point B to C, or you know, wherever. That's what TCP and UDP is responsible for, is making sure that when we point it there, it actually gets to that point. And of course, that's going to be important in our later hacking videos, because you could alter that point if you know how to, and of course I'll go ahead and teach you guys that. But so in short, in a nutshell, layer 4 manages how data packets are sent across computer networks. Okay, so just so you guys know, let's head to our layer 5, and we call this the session layer. Okay, session layer. And the session layer is where traffic between computers is controlled and where connections are established, managed, and terminated, also known as the traffic control layer. Personally, I still call it the session layer, but you guys can call it either or. It manages how much and when a computer can send information. Alright. And then we're going to go down to our next layer, or layer 6. Layer 6. And like I said, it is our presentation layer. And so what is the presentation layer? The presentation layer translates our applications into data so it can be understood and displayed by the application layer. This layer also formats the data for sending or encryption so that it can be decrypted once it is received. It'll take the data packages and prepare them so our software and computer apps can display them to readable formats. So basically, the presentation layer, let's say it takes this notepad and we want to send somebody the notepad software. It breaks it down into the bytes and the data, and then when I send it via a file or email or an upload site, the presentation layer breaks that all down into the correct format, so that way when somebody uploads this software package, it'll look like this when it comes out, but the actual look, like this window right here, is the application layer, which is our layer 7. So application layer, and again, basically it's what displays when it finally gets to its destination. So you know, the layer which enables applications to access the network and helps to synchronize communications. It is also referred to as network access layer, which includes but not limited to SMTP, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, HTTP, as I mentioned before, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and FTP, File Transfer Protocol. And again, you know, these are just the most common ones. But yeah, it determines if our operating system, software, and apps can access the network, and the HTTP determines if our browser can connect to a web server or where it is on the network. So basically, it's mapping our websites for us, so that way when we type it in the address bar, it can make sure that it isn't there. Alright, so alright, so what is the importance of IP/TCP? So the importance of IP and TCP, IP equals Internet Protocol. And basically, if you see anything that ends with a P when we're talking about networking, it's going to be protocol. P stands for protocol, about 99.9% of the time. And we got our TCP equals transmission control protocol. Okay. Alright, so why are these important though? Why am I bringing these up? Well, if you guys watched my CMD Basics of Hacking tutorial, or my basic reconnaissance tutorial, then you guys know that I had you guys do an IP config, and that is again our internet protocol, and it looks kind of something like depending on how it's structured, it can be like, or which type of IP it is. It can look like that, or it can look like this, you know, something of the likes like that. Okay, and basically, again, what that does is it tells you where your computer has one, and then you get to the router, which has 2 IP addresses, and we call that the face forward IP and the face backward IP, because your computer's going to connect to that router, to that router's front IP, and then it's going to transfer your computer's request to that backside IP, which is going to then go on to a web server, or in some cases a telnet server, or some kind of service. Alright, and in the hacking world, we want to be able to intercept this IP. Okay, we want to be able to figure out either a router's IP, a web server's IP, or the person on the other end, our individual target's IP, so that way we can control and manipulate it. Then we also want to know our transmission control protocol, or our target's transmission control protocol. And if you, well, we'll go over Wireshark soon here, but when you open Wireshark, there's an option to capture that. And basically you want to know, what are they requesting, what kind of data is being passed across the network, what kind of transmissions are being placed out from this IP. And this is why these two are important, because they kind of go hand in hand, especially in the hacking world. Okay, so that's what those are. And you know, they are important if you're targeting somebody, especially an individual computer system. It's going to be very important that you know their transmission control. All right, so so next thing, let's take a look at Tor. All right, so if you guys aren't familiar with Tor, Tor is an quote-unquote anonymous browser that allows you to access the surface web and the dark web. And the dark web is basically the internet underneath the internet. And if you're not familiar with a Tor address, it would look something like this, dot onion. Okay, and that's a darknet address. That's a Tor address. But what does Tor have to do with networking? Well, first off, I'm doing this part mainly because somebody told me, some idiot told me, that Tor is not safe. That Tor is compromised, that Tor shouldn't be used, and that other methods like dumbass chat sites should be used. That person decided to research and deem himself worthy to say that it's absolutely secure. First and foremost, in our world of cybersecurity, nothing is secure. You know, at first maybe, yeah, when it's first released and all the bugs are worked out, absolutely. Later down the road, sometimes when patches are released, absolutely. But everything be put out on the web or the internet, it is not 100% secure. I don't care who you are, it's not secure, okay? And here's where I can easily argue this, where Tor actually can be secure. Okay, so if you guys just use Tor browser on its own, then yes, it's the chances of it being secure is only 50-50. It would just be like using the regular internet. You would have to be doing something pretty illegal for you to get into the 50% catch range, and you know, just like the regular internet. However, here is where Tor does become safe, and I'm going to do an illustration for this. So I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay, and while I'm pulling this up, just so everybody knows, Tor is definitely absolutely safe if you do what I'm about to show you guys, because the most elite hacker group on the face of the planet, also known as shadow brokers, go ahead and Google them, who hacked into the NSA, GCHQ, and Unit 8200 of Israel, they use Tor. So tell me right there how it's not safe if the most elite hacking group in the world is operating from Tor. But let's go over how Tor works so you guys understand what I'm talking about. So Tor, so this is you. Okay, we're gonna put a Y here. This is a Tor site. Okay. Or you know what, we're gonna call it a Tor onion. Now assuming that you're using the Tor browser and you go to a Tor site, this is how Tor works. In the normal internet, your connection is straight here. Okay, and the normal internet is like .com, .org, .net, etc., etc. Okay, so that's your connection in the normal internet. Now, here's your connection in the Tor network. People set up what is known as relay bridges or relay nodes. And basically what you're doing is they're allowing you to connect to their computer and push your connection to another computer and to another computer and then to the final destination or the website or the Tor onion link. Okay, so you go from that computer to that computer to that computer to your final destination. Now, yes, the government has found a way to reverse this. Again, if you're doing suspicious activity, visiting suspicious onion sites, which, believe me, there's plenty, this is reversible by the government, if need be. But there's another method that I guess this person just was too stupid to think about. Okay, so you can use what is known as VPNs, which is a virtual private network, and proxies. Okay, actually, this isn't even... Okay, so here you got like a VPN block, you got your proxy, plus you got your Tor node, and then it's going to do this again for each connection to a Tor node until you finally reach your final destination. Now, this can be mixed up in a multitude of ways. Your connection can go from this VPN to this proxy to the Tor node, then back down to a proxy to a VPN to a Tor node, and so on, so forth, until you reach your final destination. Okay, in a multitude of ways. It doesn't even have to be in that exact order. It just depends on, you know, what you're running, at what time, etc. And we'll get into more detailed things about VPNs and proxies, but I want you guys to get this general concept down, and I want this person to know that I'm calling you out on your stupidity, and I'm showing you that Tor can be safe if you take the right procedures to do it. I mean, even Edward Snowden, who is hiding from the top cyber intelligence agencies on the face of the planet with billions of dollars of resources, and he manages to use Tor every day. So your argument that Tor isn't safe is absolutely invalid. You're an idiot, you don't think outside of the box, and you can go fuck yourself. So that is how it works. Use VPN plus use proxies, and your connection is like 99% unbreakable. There's always that chance that it can be breakable because everybody's always finding ways to hack. Okay, it's not just one stationary subject. It develops every day, every week, every month, every year. Somebody finds a way into something, a new way. If it's patched, they'll find another way. There's always a way. So nothing on the internet is ever 150 trillion billion % secure. Okay, so know that. Not your dumb little chats. Even your VPN and proxies, it's not 100% secure, but it is a hell of a fucking mess to sort through to get back to you. So I just wanted to clear that up. I also wanted to show you guys, you know, how Tor works and how it's related to networking, because you have to, your IP gets switched around and all that stuff. So but yeah, so that's basically it for our networking fundamentals. I'm gonna leave this up here for a couple of seconds so that way you guys know you know how to do this crap and how it works. Sorry, I'm ticked off, so I'm calling it crap. It's not actually crap, it's actually very important. But yeah, so copy this stuff down, take a screenshot, write it down. This onion address is actually not real as far as I know, so I just randomly typed in letters, so don't try going to it. But yeah, guys, okay, so hopefully you guys learned something here. Drop me a like, drop me a comment. I'm sure this person's gonna be acting like a little girl and bitching on my YouTube channel about me calling him out, but whatever. And yeah, so give me a like, comment, be sure to subscribe, because now we're going to be jumping into some more detailed things, and we're going to be diving deeper into the world of hacking. So be sure to subscribe. Alright guys, short for go out. Peace.